Hello there. Welcome to Unplugged Wednesday. My name is Kara Gott Warner, and this is the video version of Power Pearls podcast. So I've been out of the loop a couple times for a couple weeks, and it's because I have had a big workshop that I've been working on here locally in my local area, which was really exciting. So today we're going to chat about some fun things. But for now, for those of you who are new to watching this little video series that I send out every Wednesday, this is the video edition of the podcast. And if you want to hear the audio version of the podcast, you can go to karagottwarner.com/podcast. And this will be episode 108. Okay, so you can check that out. And so I've been out of the loop. You haven't been hearing from me. Those of you guys that are watching this on video, you are getting the email from me every week that you get to see kind of my studio and what's happening. And I also share some extra goodies that you don't get on the podcast, one of which is the video version. So you can watch this on your computer. You can watch it while you're knitting. You can watch it on your phone, whatever. It's all good. And I want to say before I get into the topic, I just had a blast over the last, I guess it was already over the summer, with you guys that took the shawl making challenge. It was a blast. It was so much fun. And I already said it was a blast. So that's twice, right? Like that's how much fun it was. We're kind of switching gears going forward, and that's what today's video and podcast episode is all about. And I have a little cat here, Kitty. I was going to let her stay because I thought it's kind of the raw and real aspect of doing this, this video. But now she she wants to be on, but she's also ready to walk on my keyboard. So, okay, there she goes. Anywho, so we're switching gears. And why are we switching gears? Because we're going from the shawl making aspect. That was an awesome challenge. That was something that we all, shared together, learned lots of new techniques when it comes to shawl making. And now I'm going to be putting my coaching hat on, my time management hat, if you will. And I'm also going to be talking about planning and organizing. You may have heard me already talk about the Knitter's Planner. It's a very exciting project that I was asked to work on well over a year ago is when I started the process. And I'm the editor of the planner. And I collaborated with Stephanie Palmer. She's the creator of the planner, and also she's a publisher and the creator. And she also creates something called the Quilter's Planner. And so the Knitter's Planner is here. It's here. And you guys, if you haven't already purchased your planner, you've got 10%. We're giving 10% off your entire order. So if you act now, this will be good through Black Friday and also Cyber Week. So you'll hear me talk about this again. But if you want to get your planner, you can go to my affiliate link, which would be awesome if you guys did that. It is karagottwarner.com/knitters planner. It's that simple. So karagottwarner.com/knitters planner. Okay, so what are we going to talk about? So I have my notes in front of me, my tablet. I never use my my tablet. Here's my tissue in the background. Isn't that funny? Because my nose is always runny. So there you go. But I thought, I'm going to make my background so neat and perfect. But we're not here to talk about neat and perfect, right? We're going to talk about planning and how messy that can be sometimes, and how we can sometimes feel like we're not worthy, right? So I'm going to get into that. But I want to just start off by mentioning that this episode was inspired by a conversation that I recently had with Pat Flynn. Now, he's the host of Ask Pat, which is a really awesome podcast. For those of you that are in business, he talks about organization. He talks about things that come up in our business. And he coaches people, and he helps you work through things. And he coached me which is so awesome. I feel so lucky, like, and blessed, like, that he said yes to coaching me, because he was sort of like this, this little fangirl dream, because I think he's great. I've been listening to his podcasts for years. So he has Ask Pat and also Smart Passive Income are his two podcasts. And so our chat reminded me of all the things I've been doing with you guys over, gosh, the past 4 years, since I started Power Pearls podcast. But, helping you on your creative path, how we can be more intuitive with our knitting and our yarn crafting, and also this creative confidence, right? So intuition, creativity, and that confidence that comes when we trust, right? When we trust ourselves, we trust our needles, we trust, whatever it is that we're doing. And this applies to getting organized, right? Because this is what we're talking about. We're getting into that mode. I'm going full throttle on the Knitter's Planner, you guys. But it's all the same, because you know why? It all comes back to one thing. One thing. What is it? It's your mind. That's what it is. And it. So again, going back to this thing that we've been talking about, that I've been talking about, and helping you guys with on your path, on your creative path, um, and on whatever you're doing. But knitting, the knitting piece, right? That's where we can really, it feels really personal, right? As they see, that niche, the riches are in the niches. But riches in the niches, doesn't mean money. It means like that this is where we really do have these rich relationships, right? Because we are knitters, we're yarn crafters. This is what we do in the background of everything. Knitting has dictated my life. It has, I shouldn't say dictate. Well, I can't think of the word, but it has influenced. Yeah, there it is. But everything that I've done, where I live right now, I live in Indiana because I worked at Annie's Publishing, because I was the editor of a knitting magazine. Wow, right? What a dream come true. And now I'm a coach, and now I help creative people, creative women, to infuse their life with their creativity, coach them to use it as a way to transform and transcend struggles and issues, and how to become a better planner and organize their time, all that stuff, right? And it's how we hang out. It's how we hang out together. So also Pat's advice in the episode was really simple. I mean, seriously simple. And I have to say, it's so hard. It's so very hard, because his advice was simple, and that was keep it simple. Keep it simple. And, it's really hard to do, because sometimes I think when we try to do all the things, it comes down to, and this is what I was thinking about. This is what inspired the title of this episode, um, and our worthiness, because we might think that we are, when we think of doing more, right? We think of that we are that it's not enough. We may think that we're not worthy. That we're it's kind of symbolic of where our mind is about who we are and what we're doing, right? So when we keep striving, it's because we just think we ourselves are not enough. So one of the hardest things to do is to trust ourselves, to deciding on one thing that will move the needle in our life. And in the episode, Pat talks about this as finding that lead domino. And also, there's an amazing book, I don't have it in front of me right now, called The One Thing, talks about that lead domino. And Pat brings that up, and he says, when you simplify your process, and you decide, what is that thing that is simple, yet it will be that lead domino that knocks all the other things down. So I only need to really put my focus on that thing. So if you want to hear that episode with me and Pat, it's episode 1087. You believe that? That's how many episodes this guy has. 1087 of Ask Pat. So, just ask Mr. or Mrs. Google. Just type it in, Ask Pat, and Pat Flynn is his name. So easy to find. So anyway, when you believe you're not worthy and you're not enough, or when I meant to say, when you believe you're worthy and enough, you don't need to second guess or get overwhelmed because you decide in advance, what you're going to do. And something that I've been saying a lot to myself, you just burn the boats, as they say, meaning you just don't look back. You burn the boats, burn the bridge. I don't think burning the bridge is different, a different concept because, you don't want to. Sometimes when people say, I'm going to burn the bridge, means you're like, you're going to hurt somebody or a relationship. When I say burn the boats, it means I'm looking forward thinking to the future. And, so how can you do this? How can you decide and stay focused and pick that one thing as your lead domino? I have to say, it goes back to this time management piece. It goes back to using my planner because I really feel like I really live by my planner. I live by it. I write down what I will do and I will commit. And if I don't, here's what happens. If I don't, that what can happen is I can damage that trust later. We may think, oh, we can let ourselves down, right? And that if we cancel an appointment with someone else, well, that's not acceptable. But it's the same with yourself. I'm just letting you know, because from a mindset perspective, you are creating um, you are setting the stage up for not trusting yourself, not having confidence in your abilities. And this is going to be something that you'll see later in your actions. So you will probably say, I won't do it anyway. I don't have what it takes, so I won't follow through. But if you do what you say you're going to do, you will create trust in yourself. And if you're living by the seat of your pants, right? You're doing that stuff in the moment. You're planning, but you're kind of not fully planning um, because you're not using a planner, number one. And then it's so easy to say that you're a victim or think you're a victim of your circumstances. But that's not true because, of course, we're the creator of what, there might be circumstances that are out of our control. But when we think we're a victim of our circumstances, we're not, because what we can do is we can, number one, we can think differently, and we can begin to create a system for ourselves to stay focused on that thing, that lead domino. And when you begin to build this and cultivate this every day, you're going to start seeing some pretty amazing things happen. So think of it like this: using a planner is like a support system, right? This is how I consider my planner. It's like a form of self-care. um, and you know what? If it becomes a burden, it's we're not using it the right way. It can become this as fully as I've heard. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but in an episode that I was on another podcast episode with Felicia Lowe of the Sweet Georgia Show, on with Stephanie Palmer, were the latest episodes. You guys are going to have to check that out. It's episode 95. So check out that podcast after this. But she says that a lot of the times our planners can become like a wasteland of sticky notes and random notes. And this is so true, right? We get a planner, it looks pretty, we spend money. I mean, these planners aren't cheap, but if they're used effectively, they can drive your business, drive your life, drive your everyday, drive your creativity. That's what the Knitter's Planner is all about, right? So it's all about using the tools. And that saying, you get what you put into it. It's just like an education. When you could go to the best school, the best university, college, but if you don't put in the time, and you actively engage in your learning experience, or you write notes, you use a plan, or whatever it is in school, you're writing notes, you're studying, you don't do that, you'll get nothing out of it. It's the same thing with a planner. So you can make it serve you, or it will become that wasteland of sticky notes. So you guys, if you haven't gotten your planner, it is time. I'm telling you, it's time. Okay? I poured myself into this planner, and let me tell you how I've been involved. So I'm the editor of the Knitter's Planner, and I met Stephanie Palmer about a year ago. And we started brainstorming together, and it was like she just dropped out of the sky. It was like, this was like a dream come true to work on a planner like this, because I'm a total organization and time management geek. And so I was introduced to her by a mutual colleague and friend colleague, and she was like, Stephanie Palmer's looking for an editor, someone to come in and create this planner, someone that knows the knitting world and has background as an editor. And you came to mind. It was a natural fit, and the chemistry that we had was amazing, and still have. We're still working together because now it's all about shouting from the mountaintops. Here it is. Here it is. So I would love it if you guys got your planner using my affiliate link, and it's you can learn more by going to karagottwarner.com/knitters planner. And like I said, you can get 10% off your planner. And here it is. This is my planner. It's upside down. So if you're listening to the audio, you cannot see what's going on here. Let's let that focus a little bit. This cover was designed by my brother. I'm just saying. He was a big part of this planner. He did all the illustrations in the book, and he created this cover. I think there was another cover, but this is my favorite. So he created this one. Pretty cool, right? And when you listen to the Sweet Georgia episode, because this, I'm trying to keep this under 10 minutes. I don't even know how long I've been talking, but we're almost there, you guys. But if you listen to the Sweet Georgia Show, episode 95, we take a deep dive. We talk about the planner. We talk about the features. We talk about how you can customize. It's all about customizing and making this your own. This is not like other planners out there because of that uniqueness, that special aspect of being able to customize your sections. And then also as a knitter, it's like a notebook. It's a knitting notebook all in one. So I will very soon, if not next week, because my planner, I have planners. I'm special, so I get a couple. The reason why I'm going to have a couple planners is because I'm going to share with you a couple of the different versions of the layouts. There's 4 different layouts. Okay, so talk about them on the Sweet Georgia podcast. So check that out. I think this is this is it for this particular video. But I'm letting you know that I'm switching gears. I'm doing things a little bit differently here. So I am going to keep on talking here. I'm going to turn off the record button, video record button, I should say, because you guys listening to the audio, don't go away. We are kicking into the official podcast version of this episode. So the first half is unplugged, unscripted video. Second version is what I'm going to teach you guys this week. So what it is I'm going to teach you 3 reasons you're not getting things done. So that, because if your planner has become that wasteland of sticky notes, I'm going to help you get it together. So if you guys are watching this video, I think I already said this. I'm looking at my notes here, but you opted in for Unplugged Wednesday. So if you want to, by the way, if you want to continue listening to the full version, head on over to karagottwarner.com and click on the podcast link to listen to episode 108. If you would like to get the video version, and you can go to the website, to karagottwarner.com, and right below, you won't even have to scroll. You're going to see where you can put in your name and your email address, and you will be on the list. Okay, you guys. So I am going to see you next week for the video version, and we're going to kick into gear and officially start the audio version now. Okay, so let's dive into the three things that hold us back from getting things done so our schedule is not a big hot mess. Because let's face it, right? We want more time to do the thing that we love, and that is to create, to knit, all that stuff, right? We want to create more margin in our life for that stuff. So these are the three things. Number one is indecision, number two is doubt, and number three is resistance. So these are the things that really can trip us up when it comes to creating, to committing to a planner and to committing to a schedule. So I'm going to go into each one of these. Now I've talked about uh, these things in the past in different iterations, but you know what, every time I go into these there's going to be there's going to be something different each time that we'll address. So let's start with number one, and that is indecision. So this is one of those things that a lot of us deal with on a regular basis. Can you totally relate? You can't decide, you're confused, you ponder things, you kind of think, I need to think. And you kind of do the little thought, what will I do? What will I do? And for as long as we decide to keep thinking and pondering something, we're going to stay stuck. We're going to stay in that same place we're still stuck in. And what can happen is that we can even get more confused. And so what happens is we have confusion and we get overwhelmed because we create all of these choices. We can't decide on one thing. We can't decide and go all in. So the bottom line is, I think the mark of a successful person, the mark of someone that's confident, is someone who definitely decides and just goes all in. Because here's the thing, when we don't decide, we think, and let me tell you, I'm so guilty of this one, because we think that there's a right and a wrong decision. And that's just not true. And we have to decide on a decision, basically, and go all in. So if we can tell ourselves or trust that we're not making a right or wrong decision, because whatever decision we make, it is totally neutral. And you may not know what the outcome is going to be, right? So we don't go all in because we're afraid that we're going to make the wrong choice and we're going to fail. But failing is good because failure is definitely a tool. So that's something that you should really keep in mind when it comes to moving forward, moving the needle, that when you fail, you're on track. Just remind yourself that you're on track. And another thing that you guys might want to smack me for saying this, but when you say, well, I'm a perfectionist, so until I know for sure that what I'm going to do is the right thing, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to just make sure that everything is just perfect and right. But perfectionism is actually a form of procrastination. I consider it fear in disguise, because it's so easy to stay behind perfectionism, and because you only want A plus work. And why do you only want A plus work? Is because you're afraid of failure. And there it is again, the F word. Okay. It's just the truth. It really is. And so it is okay to have B minus work if you're constantly getting things done, because we live in an imperfect world, by the way. So how can we imagine perfectionism, right? So it's impossible. It's impossible. So remember that when you experience the perfectionism bug creep in, remember that it is fear in disguise, and it is a form of procrastination. So try to dismiss that right away. And another thing that you might want to smack me about is when I say confusion and overwhelm are simply choices. We're confused. As I said before, we are confused because we think there's a right or wrong decision, and this is not true. And we may get overwhelmed because we didn't decide. And if we decide in advance, we're taking away the confusion and the overwhelm. And by the way, You have the power to decide that. And we might think that we're victims of our circumstances, as I said earlier. And, this is just not the case because we're not. We do have a choice. We always have a choice. We always have a choice. Even if the circumstances in our life aren't good, right? Like something terrible has happened. And this happens in our life. I mean, people die. This is a reality. But we can think whatever we want about that circumstance. And this is the truth. I'm here to say that this is the truth. And this is what I help my coaching clients with, because I work through different models, as they call them in coaching. We have an intentional and an unintentional model. And usually we experience the unintentional model first. And then I help them to see that the issue or this thing is starting in their mind, and that they can control how they feel by changing their thoughts. And then as a result, their actions will be different, and then their results will be different. The results will be what they want them to be. So let's move on. So again, so indecision is a dream stealer. Okay, it's another way of phrasing this whole thing. Whatever I can do to convince you to decide on something and go all in. So for example, it might be, I am going to plan 24 hours in advance in my planner, and I am going to commit to the 3 things I put on my planner. And that's it. You might not finish those things, but if you commit to finishing them the best that you can in the time that you've allowed, you'll be surprised how much you'll get done. Seriously. So be that person who's decisive and do not second guess. Okay, number 2 is doubt. And I'll tell you what happens with doubt. The reason why we doubt ourselves, again, goes back to confidence. These all tie together. But we doubt in regards to, let's say, planning ahead so we can have more time for other things. We have doubt about our actions, about what we have, what we've said we will do, because we don't have a compelling reason to do so. So we have to remember, why is it that we're doing what we're going to do? Is it to have more time for spending time with our friends, our family, more time crafting? So what is it that you want to put out into the world? And so if you can show yourself what's possible, you will absolutely blow your own mind. And I want you to try that. So you can only get wisdom from yourself. No one can give you any wisdom, right? I mean, you can get knowledge from books and people can teach you things, but when it comes to wisdom, you can only know by doing. So all this stuff that I'm talking about, it means nothing unless you give it a try for yourself. So the biggest reason that we actually give up is because of doubt, because we create these limiting beliefs. And what happens is we continually change directions because, we change directions and we don't do what we say we will do. So going back to what I said earlier, we ruin that trust. We damage the trust in ourselves. And it's like this vicious cycle of, lack of confidence. And, the mark of a successful person, someone that really gets things done, whether you're in business, whether you're trying to organize, yourself at your job, maybe you manage a team. You don't even have to manage a team, but you have a job that you have to get done, right? And if you have doubts about, what it is that you're going to do, this is going to be that dream stealer, like I said before. Because someone that really is sure and believes something, you ever hear that phrase, I believe it because I see it, right? Instead of, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. It's about believing it before it happens. This is the secret, my friends. I'm telling you, it is the secret to success in any area of your life, is to truly believe your compelling reason. You have a compelling reason in believing what you're going to do, and you're going to do it. It's already as if it's here. So There are lots of ways that you can do that, and coach yourself through that on your own. But also, again, working with a coach can help you to find your compelling reason, believe in your compelling reason. I shouldn't say find your compelling reason, but once you have that compelling reason, to really help keep you on track, right? To show that, to shine the mirror on that thing. Okay. So number three, we're moving along, you guys, is number three is resistance. And resistance is a sneaky one. It really is, because we can convince ourselves that we're really not experiencing resistance. That you know what, I can't finish that thing because, well, I don't have time, and I'm not feeling well. I'm kind of tired. I only got 5 hours of sleep last night because my husband was snoring. This is probably my story last night because my husband was snoring. And so I can't. So I'm not going to do that thing. I'm going to kind of cut that thing out. It's so easy to do. It's so sneaky. So what happens is we sabotage ourselves every single day. Well, I shouldn't say every single day, but every single time we experience resistance, we're setting ourselves up to self-sabotage. And I will tell you that you probably can see that happening, right? So you can ask yourself the question, when you feel yourself wanting to not do a thing, ask yourself, why do I resist? Probably because it's uncomfortable. But if you can decide that, you know what, I am trying to commit to my schedule, or I'm trying to commit to building a side hustle with my day job, um, that it's going to be uncomfortable no matter what. And my brain will always want to seek comfort. And that's our primitive brain, by the way. We have a primitive brain. Some people call it the reptilian brain. And then we also have our prefrontal cortex, which is where we make decisions in advance. So you heard me talking about that. And I'll be talking about that more and more as it relates to, how to get organized, how to trust. It's all about the mind. No matter, you guys, it doesn't matter what it is, whether we're trying to lose weight, whether we're trying to find more time to, design, because maybe we want to be a knitwear designer. We want to work on our relationships, we want to manage our time, get better with organization. All of it's the same. It all comes back to the mind. Okay, so remember that your brain is always going to seek comfort. It's always going to seek the easy route. So if you know that that's the case, you can catch yourself, because you will always talk yourself out of doing something. You'll always do it if you allow your brain to do that. Okay. So no excuses. Resistance is going to set you up for sabotage. Don't let it happen. So how do you combat this? You can combat this by doing two things, my friends, and that is to constrain and focus. Remember the lead domino? Once you find that lead domino, don't take your eye off of it. It will build momentum. So this is the whole idea of a domino, the domino effect, right? Because by the time you knock down your final goal, there's so much force behind it. So keep running, keep focusing. And you constrain, so you narrow it down, right? And then you focus. So if you have one task that you have only three things, let's say, like, don't go crazy. Make it simple. Put three things that you know are going to move the needle on what it is you need to do today, so that everything else is icing. Everything else is like cake, right? And you constrain and you focus and you don't stop until you get there. So those are the three things. And so I'm going to leave you with a challenge for the day. How's that? So I'm going to make this actionable. So I want you to decide what your one main lead domino is. Okay. Could be today, but how about tomorrow, right? Because, going with what I said before about deciding in advance. So what happens is, when you decide in advance, you're allowing your logical brain, instead of your primitive brain, instead of your toddler baby brain, you're allowing your grown-up brain to make decisions. So decide what your one thing is that will be that lead domino is, and go for it. So put this on your schedule for tomorrow. Then set a timer for exactly 1 hour and challenge yourself to complete the task. So by the way, this lead domino, it might be a bigger thing, right? It might be something you think. Remember the word think. This is the operative word. Think. Because what you think isn't always really the case. Because you'll think, well, I no, this thing takes 2 hours. But I want you to challenge yourself. I want you to set a timer for exactly 1 hour and challenge yourself to complete something that you think might take longer. Like totally dispel all the myths. And by the way, B minus work is okay. Get it done. So you may not complete the entire task, but this experience, this exercise will show you that you do not need as much time as you think you do. Now go get your Knitters Planner, you guys. Go to carolgottwarner.com/Knitters Planner, and you can still get 10% off now through Black Friday and Cyber Week. So hurry. And if you're not convinced that it's time to invest in this planner, you must listen to the Sweet Georgia episode 95. I am on that episode with Stephanie Palmer, the creator, the publisher of the planner. We talk about why this planner is absolutely so unique. You must have it. Go check it out. So that's it, you guys. So I'll see you next time, and take care.